Yeah, yeah.
We are the epitome of Black female love.
It's
Yeah.
easy for us as Black women to hold up the banner and the calls for everyone else. But again, who holds up the banner and the calls for us? What role does the church play in all of this stuff?
Is that we as a Black church are perpetuating the same behavior as a patriarchal evangelicals have been
That's
doing.
right. And guess
Church, but it's the sisters in the congregation.
But it's a lot of times it is the Black women who bring us down more, or push or try to silence our voices more in the Black church.
Hold up.
Oh my goodness. Oh my goodness. Hello, my sisters. Hello, my sisters. And let's see, those of you all, we thank you all for just being with us, asking us when we get back online. We just had a whole lot that's been going on to get us back to this place. Dr. Bradford was hoping to be with us on today. I believe she is traveling, and so you all lift her up. Let us know that you're here. Hello, Sayonda Casey. Hello, Sharon Mitchell. Renee Thompson Jones. Hello, hello, hello. Let us know that you are here. Sharon Brown Taylor. Thank you, Lynn Daniels. Hello. Let us know that you're here. Like, tag, share with someone. Our fall kickoff on today. Marjorie Hamilton Scott. Hello, Yomi Clark. Hello, hello, hello. Let us know that you're here. Let us know where you're listening from. Hello, Kiana. Yes, Kiana. All the way from Albuquerque now. Yes, yes, yes. Let us know that you are here. My sisters, let's see. Who do we start with on today? We have Sarita Wright and we have Brenda Perry Wallace. Let's start with those Kansas City Chiefs, Sarita Wright. Come on, how you doing?
That's what I'm talking about. Yes, let's talk about those Kansas City Chiefs coming out the gate, looking good, looking good. Even though we got Tyreek hating from down the road, but they looking good. And so I just see, even my dog wants to celebrate.
We keep telling you that's a horse. Go ahead, though.
See. He doesn't get it. He doesn't get it. But we are celebrating, and I'm excited to be back on. It's been a while since we've been on. I was sharing with the ladies that I have had the opportunity to start reading again. I asked the Lord to just rekindle my love for reading, and it has been on. And I've read about 7 books in the last 3 months.
Oh, Lord.
But the latest book that I have been reading is called Racism in Kansas City.
Wow, we'll get back to that in a second. All right, let's hear about that. Dr. Brenda Perry Wallace, how are you?
I'm doing well. It's good to be back with the ladies again. I'm looking forward to our times together. It's been a long time. I don't think we've been
a long time.
It's been at least 3 months. So
yes.
I'm really happy to see my sisters and so glad y'all here.
Wow. Well, let's see. Let us know. Laura Kendall, hello. Thank you for joining us. Sheila Taylor, hello. Thank you for joining us. Jackie Marie Harris, Cecilia and Matt. Come on. Yes, thank you for joining us on today. I know that Dr. Wright is ready to jump into her book, but before we get there, it's a whole lot of hot topics, right? A whole lot of hot topics that has occurred while we have been on our break. And we would be remiss as women of color, as women, if we did not start our hot topic with honk for Jesus. Okay, y'all thought I was gonna say something else. Honk for Jesus. All right, I need to know who went to see Honk for Jesus. Okay, Honk for Jesus. Okay, I know y'all thought I was going somewhere else first, but no. Let's go ahead and get this out of the way. Who paid them? Let me raise my
I didn't
hand.
have to go see it. Thanks be to God. I got Peacock and I could watch it at home.
Okay, you watched it at home. So, all right, let me find out from. Did you, Dr. Serena Wright? Did you see Honk for Jesus? It's,
Um,
you Honk for
no,
Jesus
ma'am.
in your car. You didn't go see. You didn't go see.
In love, I was told not to.
All right, anybody else? Come on, viewing audience, talk to us. Did anyone go see Honk for Jesus? Let us know if you went to see Honk for Jesus. Okay, we need to know this. We need to know. Did you go see? Okay, Ari Melvin.
Ari Melvin
Okay.
said she did.
Okay, all right, Melvin, put it in your chat. Put it in the chat. We need to know what were your thoughts about Honk for Jesus. Okay, all right. Hello, Margaret Boozer Hudson. Good, so good to see you. All right, all right. So, Wallace, you watched Honk for Jesus, and as you can clearly see, it was based in Atlanta. It was filmed in Atlanta. Its storyline, I wasn't ready for it, but okay. Um, for who they was talking about without talking about who they was talking about. So Wallace, what was
Enlighten us.
Well,
let's
it did uncover some of the things that happened in the Black church.
mm-hmm,
Um, I I felt sad
Wow.
for the first lady.
mm-hmm,
I felt sad for and anger towards the pastor who could only think about himself,
mm, mm,
um,
mm,
and not what pain he was causing other people, his wife, or the people in the congregation.
mm,
So that was sad for me, because pastors oftentimes are so unself-aware.
mm.
Wow.
And again, it tells me that preachers, y'all need to please go see a therapist.
Hmm.
Please go see a therapist.
Okay.
Wow.
Putting your stuff off on other folk. Please go see a
Wow.
therapist.
Wow.
So that's
Well,
what I
okay.
got out of it.
That's
I
what you
did.
got out of. Okay. Those of you who are just joining us and like, tag, and share someone, we are back. We're back. We're back for the fall. This is our fall kickoff. We are talking about Honk for Jesus. Somebody put that in the chat. Honk for Jesus. All right. Terry Cotton. All right. We see that, yes, you saw it be a peacock. You laughed at some parts because they were funny, and you shook your head at some because it was and is true based on many experiences at the church. Even though satire, there's an element of truth.
Mhm.
Yeah. So I didn't know therapist Jesus to be delivered. Yeah, right, remember. So I saw Hunk for Jesus, and I will own a lot of folk who know me. Well, I ain't no need of me saying what other people say about me. That's all right. But when I saw Hunk for Jesus, I thought it was what it was. You just honk for Jesus. Okay, so okay. All right. Pray for me. Okay. That's what I thought it was. And so I went to see it on a Monday. Had I known what the movie was about, I would not have gone to see it on a Monday because I had preached that Sunday and I'm still open on Monday, right? So Monday is my, coming back down kind of day. And I didn't know about Peacock, right? I didn't know about, and so I actually went to a movie theater and sat in the movie theater. But I had awful popcorn. The theater was not a great theater, and I sat there and I watched this movie, and I was like, I thought we were just gonna be honking for Jesus, right? That's what I just thought we was gonna be, honk for Jesus, and yeah, I wasn't ready. Okay, I wasn't ready for the spin on a real live character, right? I wasn't ready for that. I wasn't ready for it was satire, but I wasn't ready for the pain of the first lady. I wasn't ready for that, right? And not on a Monday. Okay, I would have been more ready on a Thursday, but I wasn't ready for the first lady pain, and that the fact that the only time she could speak her truth was when she had on a mask on that mind face.
Wow.
Right. So
Wow.
um
Wow.
yeah, it was satire, but it was real. You know, yeah.
Dr.
So
Burns, it reminds me of when the covers come off the black church as they have the Catholic church.
Uh-oh.
It's gonna be some stuff. It's gonna
mm,
be on and popping.
see, that's why they try to keep you women in the church silent right there. Just because what you just
Uh-oh.
said that's why they try to keep y'all silent in the church.
Well, they can keep
Uh-huh.
trying, but I am free. Uh,
Absolutely.
thank God I'm free. Is that how
Mm,
the song
mm,
go? I'm free. I'm
mm,
free.
mm,
Um,
I feel a
and
chord coming up in my throat. I feel like I'm about to hit a chord. Go ahead.
yes, but the covers do need to be pulled. Initially, I had gotten a phone call to watch this movie or go to the movies, and they were talking about it on Facebook. I still didn't see what was going on Facebook. I didn't want to see that before I saw the movie. I wanted to see the movie first,
Hmm, hmm,
and it 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 did have some disturbing parts.
Mm.
We often don't like to bring the covers off and air our dirty laundry.
hmm.
Oh,
We
Oh
don't
yeah,
want to air our
well,
dirty laundry. And
they
we've been
well,
taught
they had a
in
whole
our
laundromat
culture
going on in that
what
movie.
goes on in the home stays in the home, and we have taken that to the church.
Yeah.
But there's a time when some of the covers need um, to be lifted, especially in helping vulnerable people.
mhm.
We do not need to be silent when it comes to elders, when it comes to people on the mental health spectrum. We don't need to be silent when there is sexual abuse, verbal abuse, violence, intimate partner violence. We don't need to be silent about those things. And as preachers, hear me now, as preachers, we are mandatory reporters.
Mm,
So
mm.
we need to take our responsibility seriously.
Wow. Those of you just joining us, we are finishing up our discussion on Hunt for Jesus. You just said mandatory reporters, which leads me then to our next. I don't, let's see, Renee Thompson. I feel the wife's character was too much. Some roles should be turned down, no matter how big the check is. Okay.
Mhm.
Um, the mandatory reporting. Dr. Wright, is there something you was like?
I'm looking at Sister Renee Thompson Jones' comment. She says, "I felt that the wife's character was way too much." And the sad thing is, and I've said so many times to my children, is when people are making movies and things like this, they didn't just think this stuff up. There's somebody actually acting like this. And yes, we are mandatory reporters. We are responsible. We talk about, am I my brother's keeper? Yes, I am my brother's keeper. And there are many things that could be diffused, they could be stopped, cease and desist if we step to the plate when we need to step to the plate. But the other side of that is, let's look at this as uh, we as women of God, we as even as just as friends, if we're truly friends, the Bible says, "Friend loveth at all time." If I'm really your friend, I'm gonna check you, and you need to check me, and we need to be able to share that. And I understand that the church has not created safe spaces for that to happen in so many ways. You can become Sunday's topic if you're really not careful, depending on who you have that conversation with. But we have a responsibility. We are mandatory reporters, and it is important that we speak and not be intimidated. We say we're free, then let's be free all the way.
Someone
All
is
right.
asking Dr. Burns, where can they see the movie? It is
Mhm.
in the movie theaters, I understand, but it's also on Peacock if you have Peacock. Um, so I know it's in those two places.
And so, all right. So I want to go back to the mandatory reporting because I think you just led us to did the segue into our next thing, which I know you all thought that that was going to be the first topic, but I need to go ahead and get Honk for Jesus out of my system. All right. And so, so while we have been away, let's see. We have our first Black female Supreme Court justice. We
All right, all right.
right.
Tanji.
So we celebrate that, and we also have the Supreme Court and their decision on Roe versus Wade. And so I want to do just a piece on the mandatory reporting because here in Texas, Texas have what we call a trigger law, right? And so they were waiting for the Supreme Court to overturn, and once they overturned, then Texas had a trigger law that was ready to go into effect of about of restrictions around abortion. Now, one of the restrictions, one of the primary pieces, is not necessarily on the individual who gets the abortion, but it is on the provider or the service provider who provides the abortion or provides counseling around the abortion. Well, we have a group of United Methodist preachers who now have asked for an opinion from the Texas court because of mandatory, when we talk about mandatory responsibilities, but in it they say that generally speaking, that as a faith body, we don't we're not condoning abortion. Yet at the same time, we have a responsibility to provide counsel to those who come to us for counseling in regard to whether or not they want to choose life, or whether or not they want to be pro-choice, or however they decide to carry it out. But we have a responsibility, right, to provide this to those who come. We need to know, understand, because right now, based on the Texas law, that if any pastor or priest provides counseling to an individual and they choose to have an abortion, then the person who provided the counseling, it can now be arrested, reported, and arrested for having done such. All right. And so when we talk about, quote, mandatory kind of reporting or our responsibility as clergy, so I really want us to talk about, and we want to see, I want to see your chats, and we want to see your comments in the chat. So let's have this what we call this grown up Black woman, Black man conversation about abortion and our community and what it means. This Roe versus Wade. All right,
Well,
come on.
Dr. Burns, if I might jump in here, every pastor does not know how to provide counseling. What we should be providing is pastoral care in all instances. And in pastoral care, it is the decision of the care seeker, not the caregiver. The caregiver is only to uncover what it is that the care seeker wants to do and what's best for them. It's not
But
about
in
us fixing it. It's
but in
not about us
Texas,
telling them what to do. It is the care seeker's total responsibility. Once they come to us and we have them, okay, what are the pros and cons here? What are your pros and cons? And we lead them to make a decision for themselves based
but
on their
right,
history.
Dr. Wallace, you're absolutely correct. But in Texas, and I'm talking about the pastors who are now asking for the opinion. they are qualified, okay, to be able to provide adequate pastoral care and counseling. They're qualified to do it. Even if they don't say to the person who's coming to them, do not do this, but allow that individual to process through their own way based on Texas trigger law, those pastors can, someone can report and they can be arrested.
Well, my hope is, and I'm grateful for that the Supreme Court decided, and on some level, I'm grateful because a lot of folk who were not going to vote Democratic will be voting Democratic, and the Republicans are scared right now about the election that's coming up in November because they have made a mistake. And it's a lot. We have a lot of times lost because of white women and black women not voting. But I think this will bring them out to vote.
Okay, yeah. Let's have Dr. Wright, because I don't have that kind of confidence in
let
folk
me
crossing
jump
the
in
aisle.
there, because as much as we would like to say that the folks are scared and they're intimidated and all that, at the end of the day, right is right, and it's all going to come out like it needs to come out. Lindsey Graham wrote a law to the effect
South Carolina.
Yes, for and what he said was that abortion should be allowed up into and I can't I had it loaded up Facebook on my phone, sorry. But he the whole thing was that the Democrats had said all the way up until conception, or the time a day before they could have the baby, something to that effect, and it was kind of crazy. And whereby what he said was that okay, Sayanda Casey said 15 weeks, but in reality, that shouldn't be happening. That's a baby. That's a person. That's murder, period. But when you talk about in instances where someone has been raped, there's incest involved, something of that nature, and he is saying that an abortion should be allowed up until a certain point. I can better deal with that and then saying, just let it.
I'm sorry, Dr. Wright. I'm sorry. Until we regulate penises,
well, you can't
that
do that.
bring forth the sperm for the baby.
That's the man's
Until we regulate that, women should have the right. I don't care if what day they decide to have an abortion. That's my opinion. That's my opinion.
I disagree.
It's okay.
I disagree. I love you enough to disagree. But I think by that time, a woman has already made a decision as to whether or not she's going to conceive. She already knows what she's going to do. At that point, she's made a choice. But when you start talking about
at which point, for clarification, which point? You said at that point.
15 weeks, at 15 3
weeks.
months,
okay.
at 4 months. I don't know where she's going with that. After the first trimester, I don't know.
Oh, let her come on. Right, go ahead.
So when you said at any up until whatever time, they're saying all the way up until the day before they have the baby. Mm-hmm. I'm saying that's a bit much. I feel at that time you've already made a decision. You're going to have this baby. But when you have it, for someone who's found themselves in a position to where they have no control, like that 12-year-old child who recently was the victim of incest. There was another little girl that was raped by the next door neighbor. I think he's 45-year-old next door neighbor was raping a little girl. Now, we have to fine tune this thing.
What if it takes that long, Dr. Wright? What if it takes the whole gestational period for the courts to make some decision, and it's the day before the girl delivers when she's able to have an abortion? Now, at that point, I believe if the baby comes, someone would need to adopt, because you're right. There is a life at a day before complete gestation.
Okay.
So we induce labor early for some people for their lives.
Absolutely.
So one day before is still in my mind the right of the female for her body.
Mm-hmm.
For her body.
Let's advocate for those that don't have that voice.
And
I'm
which
thinking,
voice, which
I'm thinking
which
of
ones are they?
I met a lady a few years back who was in a marketplace. We had a conversation, and she felt compelled to tell me her story. I told her that her daughters were beautiful. There were two young girls, two girls that were playing together. One was maybe 3.5, and the other was, I assumed, 12 or 13, but she was actually 32. She had been raped by a neighbor. And the mother said, we made the decision to let her have the baby. And the baby she was playing with was actually her child, not her little sister. When someone is taken advantage of, such as that, and another situation not a couple of years ago was the young lady who was in a coma in the nursing home, and the orderlies were going in and raping her. And there was the discussion about her being pregnant. I mean, this is a much bigger picture than
I, I see. I know she jumped in for a moment. Attorney Robinson jumped in. I guess I kind of have this question, and it might have been when she was our guest on the show that it was raised. But it's that when a law is made, who is the benefactor of that law? Okay, when a law is put in place, who's the one that benefits from this law? And in the overturning of Roe versus Wade and the trigger, what I call the trigger laws, because Texas isn't the only state, it just happens to be where I reside presently. So when these laws are put in place, who are the benefactors? Okay, is it the pregnant woman? Right? Is it the baby? Is it the sperm donor? Is it a greater who is the who benefits from this?
Attorney
Let
Robinson
me offer
is
that I
here.
think the
Attorney
persons that
Robinson
are
Well,
said,
I
writing
said
this law
attorney.
for
Okay,
benefit
hold
are
attorney.
white men. They are writing the law because they know that in 2040 they will become minorities and will not have all of the power.
Attorney Robinson is on now. She says she's taking her daughter's hair down because she here. Go ahead and respond, darling.
um, and as she is responding, like, and her, and we know, understand, we honor what you're doing for your daughter. Those are the questions I have, because just as you mentioned, you all, the two of you talk. Um, you have um,
Opinions.
you have a law now that says that a child and a woman must go full term with the baby. Right? But my questions become, what are the laws that deal with incest, that deal with rape, that deal with sexual violence and abuse? What what do what laws are in place, and how are those laws carried out for those individuals who perhaps a father rapes his daughter? The law says that this father who now impregnates the daughter he's raped, and in many of the states, this daughter must carry this child full time. And so you super spiritual folk, okay. I need to know, where is God in that? Is that God, right? Those of you who were there that know it shouldn't be, right? A woman is walking down the street minding her business, right? Has gotten off of work, gotten off the bus, gotten out of a Lyft or a Uber, and is trying to enter her home. She is raped. And in this rape, she becomes pregnant. The law says she must carry this child.
Mm.
Um, what? Um, yeah. So I see Attorney Robinson. Y'all got silent on our chat now. She says, in my opinion, it ain't got nothing to do with the law. It has to do with weaponizing morality through law. Okay.
Mhm.
I need her to unpack weaponizing through the law. Attorney Robinson, help me with that. Weaponizing morality. I think that's what it is, through the law.
And so, Yonder Casey, explain in the context that you're speaking right there that God is love for us. I think there should be exceptions.
Mhm.
Yeah.
Come on, Thompson Jones.
In in the uh, in the state of Missouri, Right to Life of the Unborn Child Act, it says that notwithstanding any other provision of law to the contrary, no abortion shall be performed or induced upon a woman except in cases of medical emergency. But they don't define what the medical emergency is.
Someone has placed in the chat, they grew up, and I did too. Mothers and babies died because folk were giving themselves abortions with coat
Oh,
hangers.
yeah.
So when that happens, there is a medical emergency. So
Okay, hold on, Dr. Wallace. Nicole Lee, thank you so much for being transparent. She said, I've been raped before due to a home invasion, and I would not want to have my attacker's baby. Thank you,
Okay.
baby.
This
Thank you.
is Robinson expanding.
Dr. Robinson, weaponizing, taking power and using it, not for legalizing, but for enforcing their agenda and using the tool of creating laws for others as a weapon to control the law for others.
okay,
Okay.
I got you.
It's saying in the case that God always is for what is best for the person without condemnation. We're not looking at Old Testament. All right. All right. Okay. Well, whoo,
That's
it's
a lot.
yeah,
That's a lot. And
it's
as a mother of girls and a mother and a grandmother of girls, I would not want any of my daughters or granddaughters to be put in that position because honestly, I can't tell you how I'd respond. I want to be hallelujah, thank you Jesus speaking four tongues, but at the end of the day,
Mhm.
I can't tell you how I'd respond to that. An act of violence on my child or on my seed, and then you, it's not bad enough she's been violated, but you're going to violate her again.
Yeah, someone said there are exceptions. That's why I think it is the choice of the person's body who is carrying that unwanted child.
but and I
That's my
I
opinion.
I think in general, if let's say Americans shouldn't have issue with choice, but when you have states like the one that I'm residing in, when you have I believe Florida is also putting the trigger law for themselves. You have these other states. I know there's a whole lot of states that are up and around Texas. The last I saw, I think it was 23 states that were putting in. So we got 23 out of 50, 51 states, right? Right. That's doing this. Um, what were the options, and what population of people will suffer the most? Let's see. Marjorie Hamilton Scott, you want to read this?
She says, I do not support the overturning of Roe versus Wade, no matter what one thinks, feels, or believes about abortion. The issue is the choice of the woman who is pregnant, has to carry the child in her body, has to care for the child if she decides to have it, and has to deal with the consequences of abortions. The
Of
choice
adoption.
of the woman
Adoption.
and the woman, oh, I'm sorry,
Hmm.
adoption. The choices of the woman and the woman alone. There you go, Dr. Wallace.
Yep. And I guess in addition to that, if there was a law, we're talking about weaponizing morality. If there was a law that said the same people passing these laws do not want to provide assistance for poor women who are having these babies, they want to cut off the support. So that it's as if you want it both ways. And they don't care how the folk that's making these laws could care less how many black women have babies. They really don't care. That
Well,
what they worried
I'm
about
ugly
as
because
the people that look like them not having babies.
but at the end of the day, these you change is good in a lot of ways, and I keep seeing people put up vote. We need to vote. You need to vote. Absolutely right. Absolutely right. Your voice can better be heard through your vote. But there are people who are not even attached or have a dog in the fight that are making some of the craziest laws ever. And at what point do we step back and say, this ain't good? So what do we do? Vote? Absolutely. Absolutely. But when I look at I can't even think of the man's name. He got on my last nerve so bad. Uh the House Speaker.
Look,
Yeah, him. That man right there. That man. When I hear him talk, he's to the point to where he just vexes my spirit because it's never anything that's going to validate anybody other than what he wants. And
that's Mitch McConnell in the Senate as well.
that's
I can't think of the guy. It's something. It's Max something. I don't know what it is.
no, I'm thinking
But
of
I
Mitch
try
McConnell.
not to even listen to folk like that. But Mitch McConnell, in my estimation, is gonna have to reap some of what he's sown. That is the law of nature. You're gonna reap what you sow. And he has
well,
not,
for
it may not to come early, but it's
right.
got to happen.
Well, and see that takes us to a whole nother conversation for another show. But when we talk about reaping where you sow, then that means that you're looking at them for as perhaps they see themselves as being outside of the will of God. And I'm not certain if they necessarily see themselves that way.
No,
I
no,
saw
they
some,
don't.
and I also saw someone else who said that um, what was it? Well, I missed it now. But so we this, where are we? My thing, it continues to be, people like to look at it whole. I like to look at the women that I encounter, the women that I know, the babies that I know, the little girls that I know, and if one of them was raped or molested, abused, and now you're saying to this 13-year-old, 14-year-old that they must carry this child because of what? And but yet we claim that we're in a country that we have freedom, that we got the right to be able to do all of this, but yet now you're saying the tax paying women, now moving from girls to women, now you're saying the tax paying women that they now do not have a right to do as
Mm.
they have the freedom to do in this country, right?
Mhm.
And so it's just all of this is just so peculiar to me.
With their
And I see,
bodies.
and right, and I see others are saying, and then we have quote such an interest in this unborn child, but yet we don't seem to have an interest in children and providing for adequate school care, providing for clean water in Jackson, Mississippi. You know, we don't have a care about making sure that that there are no food deserts and all these other things. And so,
Mhm.
what is the real issue? We have a whole lot, and gonna move forward, I guess, for a moment. Let's take it to something. Um, Something a little bit lighter for a moment, and then we're gonna come back to somebody else. Y'all, Queen Elizabeth died.
Did this not laugh?
I
The
said it's
lady
taking us
is
up a lot.
96 years old. What else was there for her to do, y'all?
Um,
I mourn Queen Elizabeth as well, but because I but I'm not of monarchy. Um, she seemed to be a woman of stature. Um,
Somebody
and
put
I,
Queen in.
I'm laughing because at 96, what where do we go from there? We don't live anymore to 120. So uh that that was not to belittle Queen Elizabeth, because I think she was a great woman and stature. So I'm just what what happens when people get 96, 99, 100? The next thing, the next phase is transition.
um, what, okay, I'm, I'm,
Speechless.
I'm not going to note that our co-host chuckled. Okay, moving beyond that, the part I think for the news meet outside is the part though that really is humorous to me is continuing. It was the day that she died, and then the following day was continuing to hear them say, and now King Charles III will be the new king, a position he's been planning for his entire life,
That's
right?
why you should slow
Okay, and every time I hear that, okay, I was,
Him
I was
too. Yeah,
I was
that's
like,
that monarchy.
right. I was like, he's 70. What?
Mhm. He ain't gonna be
Yesterday.
that long.
Right. And I saw a news clip today that showed, Charles's oldest son, and says, yes, he's already taken the position of his father as the next king, right? But it was like how they said it. It was like they're going, all right, he's been preparing all his life. They kept saying all of his life, all of his life. And but yeah, but Queen 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 Elizabeth, right? What are your thoughts on Queen Elizabeth, if you have any?
I think that the woman was an amazing woman to be able to keep her right mind all these years. I come from a family of longevity. My grandmother was 96 when she went home to be with the Lord. My mother and my father just celebrated their birthdays. My father on the 25th of August turned 94. My mother on the 28th of August turned 93. My great grandmother was 114 when she went home to be with the Lord. My great great grandmother was 104. Where am I going? So I just want to keep my right mind. The Queen was on it. Whoever dressed her, they did a wonderful job, and she seemed like she had it all together. But I'm going I'm going kind of deflect here a minute. I was most impressed that in all of those guards that were the colored guard and the honor guard and the Secret Service, there was one little old black boy helping carry that coffin. And I said, "You go on, boy, with your bad self."
Mhm. Mhm.
One little boy. That's
Mhm.
all y'all found in England? one little boy.
Well, that's more than any of the others had. But yeah, he was a member of the Royal Navy. So, and I'm happy that we had some representation.
Representation.
Mhm.
Absolutely. 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 So I'm concerned. I'm not impressed with Camilla being able to step into a place that was designed for Princess Diana. The short time that she served, she was a beautiful lady, and she showed. You know, they say when people show you who you really are, they really are. Believe them. She was always doing something of, of on a humanitarian scale, and so. You know, it's unfortunate that they are put together at birth, and I don't know what you're going to grow up to be, and but they have to marry because that's the way it's set up, and so I'm just I'm sorry that she passed, but she's done her time.
And I mean, anytime you lose a mother or a grandmother is sad. That's not what I was chuckling about. I do think that Queen Elizabeth was a woman of stature. She was a woman of grace, and she commanded people listen to what she had to say. I'm concerned, though, that Prince Charles what is going it may go revert back to King James. Who knows? Who knows? So it's she held on as long as she could, and she did a great job with what with when she was there. Winston Churchill couldn't go up against Queen Elizabeth, and he thought he had all the power.
Okay. Um, I received a text, and those are the wonderful things about when we look at the positive. I think she has been a wonderful role model for women coming to power, especially the time that she did and how she did. But let us not also forget the atrocities that have been done
Mhm,
on many people of color
mhm.
due to the British regime and the reign.
And the
As we,
colonization that
hmm
Rem Casey is talking about there,
hmm hmm
Sawanda Casey.
right, yes,
There is lots of oppression, uh, not just
hmm
in monarchies. We got oppression in democratic countries as well.
All right. So mentioning now, let's come on back over to the United States. Number 45 in Mar-a-Lago.
Lock him up, lock him up, lock him up, lock him up, lock him up. Isn't that the song he was singing about?
Yeah, that
I
was
say we build a noose, build a gallows, just like he built for Mike Pence,
Mhm,
his friend.
mhm.
Good God, if he's a friend, I certainly don't need no enemies.
Absolutely.
I am still in awe trying to figure out how all that lumber got hauled up to the front of the White House and nobody knew it.
Look, I'm laughing now at Attorney Robinson. She she said crucify him. I can hear the people in Jesus's day saying crucify him. Yes, I agree.
Uh, this is the thing I guess for me in 45. It's just that it's just he's
When does it
you
stop?
you 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 no, you the two of you are city folk. I grew up in a small town, and there was nothing worse than trying to do a picnic. It wasn't the flies, it was the gnats. And so y'all don't know anything about gnats. 'Cause you could see a fly and hit the fly swatter. But the gnats, it was just like the gnats just went go, just they just kept coming, right? And these little swarms, And it's like for me at 45, he's like a gnat. It's like when it's like he's been out of office now for 2 years almost. And why are we still consuming our time with him?
Absolutely.
You know, how is he still relevant? How is he still, because that that's what he longs. He longs for folk to keep talking about, right? But it's, oh my goodness, it's like,
But the part, Dr. Burns, that bothers me the most is that he really believes that he is above the law. The law is for everybody else except him. But I hope
he
my
but
girl
I
in
think,
Georgia, she ain't playing.
well, but if you want to talk about prototypes, right? That to me, he is the prototype of what I consider to be the main issue in in colonization, whether it be Britain or whether it be the U.S. The main issue is the thought that a white male is above prosecution, right? And then so you have a white rich male has to be above prosecution. And the thing of it is all of the poor white folk buying into that prototype to keep that prototype moving.
Yes,
When that prototype cares nothing
about them.
about them at all.
Cynthia Williams said, "Nobody is above the law. In due time and due season, he will get what's coming to him. You may not see it, but it will take place." And I believe that. But the thing, the thing that hurts my heart with most of this is that, and we have to pay attention. Pay attention to the signs. Every area that this man is in, whether he's talking, whether he's doing business, whatever it is, there's conflict and division. At some point, we need to wake up and smell the coffee. There's never a building, there's never a bringing together. It's always a dividing.
Hold
And
on a
there
second.
are families.
Hold a second. I don't want to lose what you're saying, but that nail color is real pretty. Go ahead.
Well, that's why she keeps showing it to us.
I always talk with my hands.
Yeah,
but,
I mean, but it's
but,
pretty.
but,
Go ahead.
but you think about it, there are still families that are broken, that are divided because of this man's foolishness. And I got a couple of family members too that go back and forth. And I mean, they tried to involve me, and I said, I love you and I love you, and I'm not getting in that foolishness. But there are families that are broken apart because of that foolishness and the belief system that he is above the law, or that he can, or that he doesn't have to answer for the stuff that he does or he says. He has not at any point displayed the character or the morals of a president, but then you got people running around and talking about my president. Disrespectful to women. I It's baffling in some ways.
But even as a businessman, they all, I've heard so much about he's a businessman, but every business he has tried to run has gone in the ground. When he tries to build anything, he doesn't know how to create a budget to do it. So by halfway through, he is filing for bankruptcy and
Bankruptcy
leaving people holding the bag.
and
It,
not
it
paying his
just
bill.
it's immoral.
It's amazing to me what you all call immoral and moral. From the top of our conversation to now y'all back to moral and morality. Y'all some interesting folk to me. Y'all Bible told folk. Y'all are interesting to me. So let's close out our time on today. Y'all with moral and morality. You had a book that you were holding up. Our last few minutes. We thank you all for joining us in our kickoff season. We just wanted to talk and chat on today. our first day back, and we thank you all for being a part of this conversation that we're having. But Dr. Wright, tell us about this book that you're reading.
So I've been reading, and I started reading a book called Racism in Kansas City, a short history. And I told my husband that I was really struggling with reading the book because I don't know if it's because it just hits home for me or the fact that it is home for me. But then earlier today, my son sent me something, and it was, I did find out a clip from 2019, but it was a young Black boy, 20 years old, walking down the sidewalk in Royal Oaks, Michigan, to go meet his girlfriend for lunch. And he looked at a white lady on the street. She called the police and said she was in fear of her life because he looked at her. And police came from everywhere and detained this young man. And his mother was on the phone with him. His mother came as well. But the fact that this woman called and said he looked at her. Now, mind you, her car was parked all the way across the street. This child had the freedom to walk down the street and look anywhere he wanted. He didn't even have to be looking at her, but she was in fear. So half the police department showed up to detain this young man over some foolishness. And the shop owner or the restaurant owner, it was a small restaurant there in the city, came out and they told her, ma'am, you can go back in. She said, no, I won't leave him out here by himself. A young white lady. She said, I'm not leaving him out here by himself. He hadn't done anything. And the woman who made the call is now hiding her face from the camera because she doesn't want to be identified. So I'm going to tell you this. The Karens are still running around. If you have an opportunity, you run into a Karen, videotape their license. Take a picture of their license plate. Take a picture of them so that they can be exposed, just like they want to expose other people for that nonsense.
Thank you, Dr. Wright. But I would like to share with our viewing audience a book by Angela Parker. And she says, if God still breathes, why can't I? Black Lives Matter and Biblical Authority. I think I have listened to that book 3 times and bought it to read it as well. So it was a short read and a short listen. It's only 3 hours long. So if you can get if God can breathe, why can't I do so?
Well, since my sisters are sharing a book, the books that I've been reading have absolutely nothing to do with what it is that they share. But
you can read.
But I would like to share for those of you all on what I like to call the other, not necessarily the social political side, but a book came out years ago as well called God's Generals by Robert Liardon, Why They Succeeded and Why Some Failed. And it talks about some of the great leaders of what we understand to be in the healing movements and the evangelistic movement. And just it's powerful. It's a real thick book, but it goes through the lives of so many of God's generals. And that book has really blessed my soul. So since they threw out a book, y'all know, let me throw out my book too. But it hadn't been that. But,
read, ladies, just read it. Doesn't matter what you're reading, just read.
Welcome back, y'all.
Y'all come back. Yes, please come back.
So, all right. So we're going to put all of our books in the chat that we just talked about. But that is the thing that inspire your mind, inspire your soul, be a blessing, and however and wherever you are, because you might be the only light that someone encounters. And so
who's going to be with us next week, Dr. Burns?
We will. God bless. Wallace is back, y'all. That's what Wallace does. Love y'all. We'll talk to y'all on next week.